Hey guys, Tony, Pressure Wash Depot, located here, Homosassa, Florida. Today we're doing some running around. I think we're going to go get some steel for prefab over here in Brooksville. Probably about a half-hour drive. But I get on these social media sites and I'll see some of the conversations that people have on there, some of the questions that people have. And one of the big topics that I've noticed is people with sales. A lot of people, they really struggle with sales. And sales, it takes a while to learn. And some people, they have a personality that they were born to sell. Some people actually struggle with sales, and it's not a hard process, but you really have to start looking at the psychology of the sale. You know, it's like getting into a person's head and figuring out what they want. They've already called you first off, you know, so they've already called you. They were interested in your product that you were delivering for someone else, word of mouth, seeing one of your advertisements, something that you did already enticed them. So now they've called you and you set up the appointment, or you talk to them on the phone, but you set up the appointment to give them a quote. You really want to try to get into their head. And the big thing a lot of people do in sales that I've found is a lot of people want to talk about themselves and their own accomplishments, which sales is not about you, it's about that customer. So if you walk up to a house and you start noticing, you know, things that they need in the home that needs cleaned, that you can provide for them, you know, it might not be something that they want cleaned at that moment, you know, so you can make subtle suggestions, but you want to find out what that person wants, you know. It's like, well, what made you call us? Well, I want my, you know, pool enclosure clean, blah, blah, blah. It's like driving me crazy. It's like, okay, you know, it's like, and you go through the whole question and answer, and you just keep them talking about themselves. You look for other things that keep them talking about themselves, because what you're doing is establishing a relationship with that customer. I'm losing my phone holder here. It's like, but you're establishing a relationship with that customer. And one of the tricks I would do is, like, when I'm first walking up to the house, I'm looking for anything to have a conversation with. So I would actually, you know, if I seen golf, you know, like golf clubs or fishing rods or something, you know, I want to make myself look inferior to them, because everybody likes to feel like they're the king of the mountain, especially in their own castle. You know, so when I'd walk up to a home, I would notice their, you know, say golf clubs. I'm not a golfer by any means, but, you know, I lose myself in conversation a lot of times, where, you know, when I first walk up to a home and I see golf clubs, that tells me they're a golfer. So if they're a golfer, I can have a conversation about golf. Or if they're a fisherman, I can have a conversation about fishing, and more than likely, they have an interest more than I do about golf or fishing. So one of the things I would do when I walk up for doing sales, I would actually walk up and I say golf clubs. Like I said, I'm not a golfer by any means. I actually suck at the game. I suck at miniature golf. I'm just not a good at golfer. You know, but I had walked up to a new home, or enough homes where I had seen enough golf clubs. Like, okay, I want to have a conversation with this person about golf, because apparently they love golfing. You know, so you ring the door, you know, you ring the doorbell, and I always take about 6 or 8 steps back away from the door, so I didn't make them feel threatened. I didn't want them feeling threatened. And then whenever they opened up the door, I would actually make a small comment. I was like, hey, I see your golf clubs. Are you a golfer? And it was something just to break the ice. Like, well, I don't golf as much as I possibly could, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I get that. You know, it's like, well, see, my goal for retirement, I want to be a bad golfer, and kind of get some off guards. Like, a bad golfer, like, yeah, because I suck at it now. I'm a horrible golfer. And being a horrible golfer, if I can get bad, that's at least an improvement, right? You know, so that's one of my icebreakers. Kind of get some giggling, and then ask them, so, well, do you get to play a lot? And I keep them talking about something totally, you know, not about the job whatsoever. And we're in Florida, so Florida's like the true melting pot of the United States. So you know, my follow-up questions are, you guys originally from Florida? Are you from somewhere else? You know, and they're like, I'm from New York, New Jersey, blah, blah. Another place I know nothing about New York or New Jersey. You know, it was like, oh, you know, we got a lot of people here from New York, New Jersey, or the Midwest, or wherever, you know, kind of thing. But when I first got into sales, and I started finding out I had a lot of people from New York or New Jersey, I actually got on Google to find some interesting facts about New York or New Jersey. So when I would go up to their home, I could have a conversation with them about, lose my phone thing here again, I could actually have a conversation about New York or New Jersey or something to do with New York or New Jersey, kind of thing. Staying away from politics, staying away from like September 11th, all that stuff, because that's a really sore subject for some people still. So that's just one of the things I would do. So you want to find out first off all about, try to get as much information you can about a person. I'm saying at a stoplight, that's why I'm using both my hands. It's like for those who are going to hate on me, so you want to find out all that you can about a person, and then you can make subtle suggestions. They called you out for a roof wash. It's like, hey, we can definitely clean your roof. Here's what we do, and explain your process. I could explain my process, but explain your process that you've developed. And if you don't, if you guys don't know how to do a roof wash, hey, tag it in the comments, and we'll hit that as well. I want to answer some of you guys' questions, but when you're doing the roof wash or you're quoting for the roof wash, you explain your process, kind of things like, okay, and I would break it down to, okay, here's how I charge, here's how I break my numbers down, and this is what we'll do for you. For us, we would, when we were done with a roof wash, we would actually neutralize everything. I learned that as a hard lesson because we paid for about an $800 tree, and I paid for all kind of plugged grass where we had burnt grass through the years. So I wanted to make sure that we weren't doing that anymore. So once we started running 2 crews, I wanted to set the perimeters where, our systems made it where my guys go out there. There was no question. Do you neutralize? Do you not neutralize? Do you rinse? Do you not rinse? So it's like, okay, we're going to neutralize everything. But that's one of the things we would use as our sale that would set us apart from everybody else. Like, a lot of companies are afraid of walking on the roof, or they don't want to walk on the roof. Well, while we're here, we do walk on the roof, but while we're walking on the roof, we're doing a roof inspection for you, making sure that we're not blindly spraying into one of the holes or something into the roof. If your tiles, like clay tiles, had slid back, or if you have squirrel damage or whatever, we're not squirting solution into your attic. Solution's another thing. So, we're trying to get into the psychology of the sale. We're trying to figure out, okay, what does this person want from me? What can I do for this person? And the biggest thing you have to learn in sales is it's really, really hard not to talk about yourself and your accomplishments. It's like, this is not about you. This is about them. Gather information from them. I had a really hard time when I first started getting into sales because I had a hard time. I couldn't shut my mouth. Somebody said something interesting. I'm a talker. I like talking. I like conversation with people. And it's like, I'm a conversation whore. I know this. So I had to teach myself to shut up. And it was really, really hard. But then I started gathering their information, and you can really take their information, and I don't want to say use it against them, but you can really take their information and use it against them. On like, oh, so you're from New York, New Jersey, blah, 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 and you learn something about New York, New Jersey from Ohio. Hey, I heard in Chillicothe they have this really cool thing, blah, 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 or in Columbus they have a festival of such and such, or, wherever they're close to, so normally if I could get within 100 miles, I could say, hey, and I sound like I'm truly like into them, into making them happy. I'm all about them more so than just trying to get the job, so. And we establish, instead of having customers, we establish what we call service relationships. Because I don't want to just come to you once and then you forget about who we are. I want to come to you 2 to 3 times a year. And, when you want your roof washed, I'm going to prove that I can do a roof wash, and then I'm coming back to do everything at your home. And then we're going to seal your brick pavers and everything else as well. So you really open yourself up to a lot more, but you got to get the first job first. My wife and I, just story time, my wife and I, we were getting our house painted. We called 3 or 4 different painters. And, I'm not like I said, at the time I wasn't a salesman. I'm still not a salesman. I don't consider myself a salesman. I enjoy sales. But when we called 3 or 4 different painters to paint our house, my wife had went through the whole process of deciding what color she wanted a home. So she had settled on this certain type of green. We had went through the different plum colored home, plum colored paint should say. We went out and got all these different color swatches. I'm not joking when I say we had about 18 color swatches on the side of our house. They looked like a green and purple rainbow on the side of our home. And we wanted these painters to come out there and paint it. You know, we have on our home, we have a white shingle roof. So our white shingle roof, nothing really matches that very well. So we knew that we had to pick a color that was going to blend with everything. So we went through like 18 different colors, called up 2 or 3 different painters, three or four different painters. Out of the 3 or 4 different painters, all of them called us back. 2 of them showed up when they said they were going to, but they both got out there different days. Like I said, 2 of them didn't even bother to show up. So that was a bad part of the sale right there for us, because okay, if you can't show up to do the quote, you're probably not going to show up to do the job. If you do show up one day, it's probably going to take you forever to do the day. So you put a bad taste in our mouth already. So 2 people showed up. The first guy showed up, and he was walking around the house. My wife was like, you know, I want the garage door white, I want this white, I want that green, because our roof is green. I mean, our roof is white. You know, and the painter's like, well, you can get your garage door painted green, blah, blah, blah. We live in an HOA, and the rules are the rules. But he's like, well, my wife's like, well, I don't want the garage door painted green. I want the garage door painted white, you know. I'm like, well, I think it looked really good, blah, blah, blah. She's like, well, I understand, you know, it probably would look good, you know, try not to insult the guy, but he wasn't listening to her needs and her desires of what she wanted on the house. And she had spent about 3 months designing this in her head and seeing what she wanted, getting color swatches, putting them down, thinking this is too bold, this is not bright enough, this is too bright, this is too yellow, this is too purple, this is too whatever, until she finally settled on what she thought would be a good color. Well, then he kept insisting on, well, I think it looked good green. She's like, I don't want it green, I want it white. He's like, you know, so we got done with the quote, you know, and he was, I wouldn't say high, but you know, he come with good referrals on his quality of work. So then the other guy showed up. The other guy was quiet. The whole time he was quiet. He'd ask subtle questions. It was like, okay, well, do you want the, you know, what color do you want the garage door? Do you want matching the body of the home, or do you want the garage door, you know, different color, like some people like that? She's like, no, I really want the garage door white. And the garage door was really the big thing that sold her, shot the job to hell or not. You know, he's like, okay, so, and he's taking notes. He's like, all right, the gutter fascia soffit. He went through all the details of the home, you know, asking little things, or making sure he had the details written down. So when we got done, he's like, okay, and he went over the whole process. Okay, so starting the roof on the chimney, you know, we're going to paint that white because you want that blended in with the roof instead of having it green like it, you know, it used to be gray. Instead of having that blend in with the body, we just want to kind of fade that into the roof. And then the body of the home, you want this color green, blah, blah, blah. You want the garage door and all the trim this color. He's like, okay. And then he like, man, well, what about the little strip above the garage door? He's like, you know, I didn't think about that one. And he's like, what do you suggest? He's like, well, you know, in all my years of experience, that was one of the words that really hooked us. In all my years of experience, this is what I think looks best. Okay, you know what? I didn't even think about that. In all your years of experience, this is what you're the painter. I'm going to go with your word on this. We got done with the whole quote. My wife was thoroughly pleased with his quote. He was very, very professional, and he was a little bit more expensive than the other guy. And my wife's like, I don't care if the first guy was $10,000 cheaper than the second guy. I'm going with the second guy because I did not like the way the first guy was not listening to me. So that's the big kicker on sales, is just listen. It's not very complicated. Just listen to what a person says. Write it down, make sure you get all the details, and then you match the price that you say that you're going to do the price for. So basically, you know, to summarize, when a person calls you up, they're already interested in you. So all you have to do is show up when you say that you're going to show up, agree to the price that you agree to the price of, do the job, and get paid. It's not very complicated at all. Hey, any more comments, questions, bitches, complaints, blah, blah, blah. Like and subscribe. Tell all your friends about us. We're trying to grow this channel to help you guys out. Ask us questions. You know, tell all your friends about us. If you need supplies, go to www.pressurewashingdepot.com. If we don't have what you need, we can get what you need, and all that good fun stuff. You want a custom build, we can do that for you too. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one. Thank you.